Welcome back, everybody. Sorry it's been so long, since I've done an update video, but there's been loads of other stuff going on. I'll show you at some point, but we've been building a race van, alongside, the Subaru's just been packed up and nothing's been done on it, but the time has come. We're coming up nearly into the season again, but the time has come to show you eventually what I do to make the carbon parts. This is not the only process, but obviously in the rebuild video I showed you previously how I made this, and it was the cheap method, so to speak. Seems to be all the rage at the minute. It's what everyone's doing, and understandably, because it's easy. You don't have to make a mould, not a traditional mould as such, a mould where you'd lay the carbon up. So I'm just going to show you what we're going to do to make this look decent, from going from looking like this sort of effect, which is what you're seeing a lot at the minute, to building up the layers of resin to make it look shiny and like your traditional carbon fibre part would. I did this exact process when I made the wings, but I didn't document it because, as usual, I was rushed. I didn't have any time. So I've actually got the B moulds of the wings upstairs in the loft still. That I wet laid over and then built up the layers of resin. So that's what when you're looking at the car, that's what the wings look like. That's what, that shiny, glossy, like deep look of resin. This is the exact same process that I did to make those wings. So what are we actually doing here? Previously, if you didn't watch the other video, I'll briefly go over it, but I don't want this to be a long video, as all of my videos. We've made a mould of whatever shape part you want, put a release agent on it, whichever one you pick, and then wet laid up with resin and carbon fibre, whichever choice, whichever one you make. I use EL2 from Easy Composites, not this stuff. This is for the top coats. But we've laid it up with resin and the carbon, 2 layers. This is about 350 GSM weight-wise, 2 layers of it, and you can see that the strength of it is pretty strong. What I've done, which I've not captured on video, I'll put a couple of clips in the screen because I got a bit of it on video, but I've actually put 1 layer of XCR casting resin on top of how it looks when you've brushed it onto the B mould. So all I've done is 240 sanded it lightly, same as you would like a traditional skinning method, like Easy Composites video, which I'll put up in that top corner. I'll put a link to their video showing the skinning method. So exactly the same principle as theirs, and they explain it loads better. But sand it all down with 240, take the high spots off, give it a good key for the resin to stick to. Then I've gone over it with 1 layer of XCR. Now, I was in a bit of a time constraint, as always. So normally you would wait till the B stage of cure and then put another 2 layers of XCR on, then flat it back again, which is the stage right now, and then put another layer on top. But because of the time constraints at the time, I only put 1 layer of XCR on. So what we're actually going to do now is flat it all back, not so that you burn through the carbon, and I'll zoom in and show you, I have in areas, because we're only human. So you flat it all back, and then I'm now going to put 2 or 3 more layers on, one on top of the other. When this has got to the B stage of cure, I'll put another layer on. B stage again, I'll put another layer on, and then we'll be able to flat it back off again with some 240 on an orbital sander, and then go for the final coat, and then polish it with a compound polisher or lacquer it with paint. So I'm going to be polishing it because that's just how I've always done it. One tip that I would say, well, there's loads of tips, but one thing I would say is buy yourself an orbital sander. These are like 20 quid, 30 quid maybe from Tool Station or whatever, and a good old Henry the Hoover. But doing it by hand is how I've always done them, and it takes so long, and your hands are knackered off the end of it. They're like prunes if you're wet sanding it. But yeah, get yourself an orbital sander. It makes life so much easier. You can get in 90% of the areas, and then you have to finish a few bits off by hand. But yeah, let me show you this procedure, and then we'll move on to getting some resin mixed up and cut it on. Here's what we really love about working with carbon fibre. See that little beauty? Nice little splinter. Full of them, full of them. So we've got everything sanded. I've moved everything up to the loft just because it's cooling off a bit outside. So obviously the resin needs the temperature to cure. I've got some of the new V2 XCR coating resin from Easy Composites, and I just wanted to show you that against the version 1, so the mix ratios are different. They've changed something in the makeup of it, but yeah, just don't mix them up, you know, if you're getting the new one and the old one. But that's enough on that anyway. So all we're going to do now is mix up the XCR and paint it on. So I've forgotten how much I'll need to mix up to do one coat. But after I've done the first one, I'll show you when we're going to put the next coat on. There should be, as I said earlier, 3 coats going on this now. I've got 2 brushes. I normally use these ones, but this is quite a big bumper, so I've ordered a couple of these just to test out. The 2-inch cotton ones. These are from Easy Composites. I always find they don't lose any bristles, they don't uptake much resin, and they're the way forward. So just order these. They're not much, like £1 each or something. So yeah, let's get it painted. Well, that's about as far as the 100 grams got us. So yeah, I've obviously forgotten the amounts that this uses. So we'll mix up another 100. I reckon another 100 will do it. It's got us about sort of halfway across. But as you can see, just nice steady brush strokes, and it sort of self levels itself, you know. So you can't see the brush strokes anyway, but it just looks a lot better. And we've obviously got 2 more coats to go on yet. That's 1 layer done. So we'll just leave it for 2 hours now, and then we'll come back to it and get another coat on. We're at the B stage. I think it's been about an hour and a half. It's quite warm in here. It's quite humid, so that's probably sped it up a little bit. But if you can, I'll zoom in. But there's nothing coming off on my hand. This side might be a little bit wetter, but this was the side that I started at. I zoomed in a little bit so you can see what I mean. But if you see that, it leaves my fingerprint, but there's nothing on my finger. It's perfect. That's what we want to be at. It's the exact same process again. Mix up. I'll mix up just under 200 this time because there's a little bit left in the pot. So about 180, 190 total amount, and then we'll get another coat on. Simple as. Coat number 3. This is the last coat, and well, it's not the last coat. There's 1 more coat to go on after this, but a very thin one. But yeah, exactly the same as the last process. So yeah, let's get on with it. That's the 3rd and final coat of resin on of the XCR, and that's it for this stage. So now all we've got to do is leave it till tomorrow. It's been a long day, but if you rewind back to the beginning of the video, I think it looks substantially better. So tomorrow, as I said, 120 flat, or maybe 240, we'll see tomorrow. Sand it back, and then 1 really thin final coat of resin on, and then we can flat that and polish that. But I'll show you how we're doing it anyway. So there's a few drips. I'm just going to wipe them with a brush before they drip down onto that bit. Make my life harder tomorrow. It's morning and we've dried. So we're all ready for the next stage now, as I say, is sanding again, which is always fun. So 120 grit we're going to go with, and just flat everything back. If you can use a block, that's better. Just basically the same principle as car bodywork. So if you can use a sanding block, use that, or use the DA, but just keep it flat. So we're gonna go all over that to get the surface now true, to get rid of all these ripples and bumps, and then we'll go over it with the final resin. So let's get it outside and we'll get it sanded.